It's the end of the year, so it's time for retrospectives. And one of them is I realized that I've used a few very interesting tools this year, and I'd like to talk about them. So this is what we will talk about today. Welcome back to Think Design Work Smart. I'm Alex Bolboaca, and I'm coming at you from the Mozaic Works studios. And today what I want to tell you is about 5 tools that I used and I really enjoyed using. They were extremely helpful in 2025. The tools are not in a specific order. These are just covering various aspects of my activity, so I just list them. It's not a top, but those are the 5 most useful tools I used in 2025. And the first one is Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a tool that I have used before, but I've really stepped up using it this year in order to create virtual labs for our participants, in order to remove all the setup that participants need to do, and in order to allow for specific exercises during trainings. So we have now these virtual labs running in the cloud that are based on Docker Compose, and that I've used Docker Compose also for other experiments, for other platforms that we're working on, and honestly, it's really great. I hesitated on doing this kind of infrastructure before because for many years Docker was unstable, and then we had a whole mess of tools in this space. We had Puppet, Chef, Ansible, each with a different focus, each with another syntax, another language, and so on. And I really want to work with stable tools, and I really don't want to learn that many things that I will later not use. And Docker Compose seems to be the winner, at least for part of the use cases. In particular, the use case where you can run multiple containers and use Docker networking and provision with external files. It's really cool. There are a lot of existing Docker Compose setups that you can reuse. Linuxservers.io has a lot of very cool Docker containers. They've done a great job of adding a lot of tools there. So Docker Compose, definitely a winner for me. I love the networking part. I love how easy it is to set up. I love how easy it is to start and test and then deploying to any kind of computer, any kind of cloud server or local computer. It's extremely easy. So you can create even complex infrastructures just with a simple Docker Compose command. I also like the command line, which is very brief. You don't have to remember all the Docker parameters and arguments anymore. It's really great. So even though it's maybe an old tool for some of you, I really like it. It's definitely something that is useful. Then the second one that I have mentioned before in one similar video is Obsidian. Obsidian is a note management tool with a twist. It's kind of a digital brain idea. So you can have articles that are interconnected and notes that are interconnected in a graph. It's a great tool. It's been evolving. it has a lot of usefulness for me. It helps me write down outlines for videos and ideas and store pages and add connections between the different nodes. And where I am using it the most right now is for my to-dos. I've always had an issue with task systems. I hate a lot of them. To be honest, I've tried a lot of them, but I really didn't like any. And this year I realized, look, I've been using Obsidian for a while, and I can now do and try to do one of a system that would work for me, which is a very long to-do file. And I'm using just the basic markdown syntax with bullets for the to-dos. I have first categories, which are headings, and then I have the various to-dos as bullets and sub-lists as, sub-bullet lists. And it works extremely well for me. I can have links, I can have connections between nodes, I can add context, I can have templates, because a template is basically just copy pasting an existing list and then modifying it. There's everything that I really need, it's in here. And there are a few things that I'd like to see here. One of them is deadlines, which I'd like to see as dates, and highlighted, but I don't really need them to be reorganized or anything, because I can search for specific dates or something like that. But what I would really need is a markdown extension that knows how to show dates, basically. Other than that, I think it's really amazing. This is the first system that I love, that works for me. And as I said, I tried many before. My favorite before that was Kanban tools, but most Kanban tools are not really Kanban, so you cannot set the things that make Kanban, work in progress limits and entry criteria and exit criteria. So it's just, it complicates, it just shows you, tasks in a visual way, but without really having the systems that are necessary. I also never liked with any of the tools that you cannot have recurrent tasks. I have some tasks that I need to do, some of them every week, some of them every month. And ideally, I would like to see that if it's a Kanban board, just, go back to Kanban, to the beginning, recreate them automatically based on the date. But no, this doesn't happen in most of the tools. So to me, it just didn't work anymore. And I like this. I like this now. It helps me to preserve context. It helps me to relate with nodes, to give as many details as I need, to have as many URLs as I need if I need them. It's very simple to edit. I'm using Vim shortcuts in Obsidian, by the way, so it's also something that I'm very used to it. So yeah, it's great. Now Obsidian, depending on how you use it, it can have synchronization, but it's typically personal notes. So you don't use it as a team, you use it on a personal side, but it's just perfect for me because, of course, we have some team task management or project, but that's very high level, and I really need to have a place where I can add my ideas and my thoughts and link to notes and so on. So it's really a good system for me. Definitely recommend something like Obsidian. I think it works best for developers who have a lot of things to do. So if you are a developer, if you like simple things, if you are a software architect, if you are, you can use this, and it has a lot of different plugins that help you with diagrams and everything that you can do in Markdown or in a markup language. You can get out of it. Has PDF export, so there are a lot of useful things in Obsidian. Definitely worth checking out. The third one that I used this year extensively is Claude AI, the AI large language model chatbot from Anthropic. I have not yet used Claude Code. That's a different thing, based on the same infrastructure, but it's different. And Claude has just been extremely helpful to me. It has helped me solve a number of projects that I really wanted to do for a very long time, but it used to take me a very long time to do those. And one of them is these virtual labs things. We had this idea for a long time, but the infrastructure was not obvious. And in discussing with Claude, I figured out what to use, how to set it up, and so on. And Claude gave me a lot of useful suggestions. It doesn't mean that I couldn't have found that, because Claude is based on existing information, of course. But what it meant is that I didn't have to read the whole Docker Compose documentation and the whole Docker documentation and figure out what type of containers I can use. I still don't know how to search for specific containers on Docker Hub. And actually, I found this other site, linuxserver.io, that has a lot of cool containers that you can use. So I found a good cloud provider that is in the EU and adheres to GDPR. Is much easier to prove that you follow GDPR. And we have all these kinds of things that are really, really helpful. So Claude has helped us tremendously. It has probably shortened my projects with months, really. There were a lot of other things that I used Claude for. I used it for some exercises, for some video outlines, which I didn't follow exactly because it's never 100%. It's 90 something percent, sometimes 80%, sometimes less. Sometimes it's not that useful. But most of the times it brings me up to 90 something percent, and the last part is up to me. I need to edit those outlines to make sure that things work. but I really, really used it, and it helped me tremendously this year. Now, I've done more videos on uh, how to use these tools, the AI assistants. We have a full list on the channel with AI and development. So you can check that out if you want to learn more. There are a lot of interesting information there. So I won't go into more details, but it's just very useful, highly recommended. But with one observation, you really need to learn how to use it. It's very tempting for certain profiles to look at Claude and the output that it gives and say, oh, but that's not good enough, or look what silly stuff it's saying. But with any tool, the thing is, depending on how you use it, you can get more and better outcomes, or you can get fewer and not so good outcomes. So if your choice is to laugh at AI assistants, you can definitely do that very easily because they make a lot of silly mistakes. But if your choice is to solve problems, then these assistants can be tremendously useful once you learn how to use those. With this being said, let's move to the next one, which is pronounced Age, but it's written like age, so A-G-E, age, but the recommended pronunciation is Age. Still, I think I'm gonna call it age because it's easier. Age is a very interesting tool that I learned about a few months ago, and Age is an encryption tool. It's a simple modern file encryption tool created by Philo, Sotile, and Ben Jojo. So these are the creators. It's on GitHub. It features small explicit keys, no config options, and unique style composability. Is designed as a modern replacement for GPG's file encryption use cases with a focus on simplicity. So let me explain you how this tool works. First of all, you can install it on any system. The original implementation is in Go, but it has implementations in Java, in JavaScript, in Rust, in a lot of different programming languages. It has libraries. So as usual for Unix style tools, you have a command line front end, and then you have a library that supports that, and that library can be included in your programs. And what this tool is useful for is encryption and decryption for very simple scenarios. Common use cases include things like encrypting files with public keys, password-based encryption, encrypt with SSH public keys, backup encryptions, so you can do streaming encryption for large files. You can have multi-recipient encryption, so if you want to send a file to multiple people, it knows how to encrypt it so it can be decrypted by multiple recipients. It has a bunch of plugins. One of them is allows the usage of hardware tokens like YubiKeys for encryption, and then it's easy to use in scripts because That's how it's built. So the way you can use this tool is to, if you want to send a file to somebody else, you need to usually to encrypt it. Let's say you can encrypt it, you can upload it to a Google Drive or a Dropbox or whatever, and then send the key through another channel to your to the receiver. Or the other way around, you can use their public key and so on. So there are a bunch of use cases here, but typically for sending files in a simple way. A few things that I really like about it, it knows how to generate its own keys, so you don't have to go through the multiple step process of generating keys and then, encrypting and all that. So really useful really useful tool for encryption, decryption of files. Now you have to know that it has some limitations. One limitation, the most important one, is that it doesn't authenticate the origin. So if you have an encrypted file, nobody can see inside that encrypted file. Nobody can tamper with that encrypted content. But theoretically, anyone can replace an entire encrypted file with a different encrypted file as long as they know the public key, because it does not validate the origin. Now, this is definitely a limitation for if you want to do cryptographic encryption in your software, and it really needs to be very complicated, very strong, and so on. This is probably not the tool for you. But if you want to send one file or multiple files between systems, maybe with a temporary key that is sent through another channel, and then you don't reuse that key, it really works extremely well. It's very fast. It's very easy to use. So age, or age as it's supposed to be pronounced, just try it, read about it. It's very, very useful. And with this being said, we can move to the last one, number 5. And as you can see, each of these is in a different area, which is why this is not a hierarchy. This is just a set of tools that work well, and they work well together sometimes. The last one that I like to talk to you about is a tool that I started using again a few months ago, and it's called Just. And let me give you a little bit of background. I said in a previous video with some tools that I use that I like to use makefiles to store commands that I don't want to remember. However, makefiles, they can do that, but they also have a lot of quirks because it's an old project, which makes it extremely stable, but also very quirky because it had to cover a lot of different scenarios, and they didn't choose the most user-friendly approaches most of the time. You have things like .phony in makefiles, you have $ut. There are a lot of weird things that if you don't know, if you don't learn, the files just look weird. So I looked for a replacement for makefiles, and I wanted something that could work as a task runner, because that's basically what I need. I don't usually need a build system. That's a different thing. And make files are really great for build systems. But I do need something that allows me to say, just create server. And that's exactly what this does. Or make create server as it was before, but now it's just create server. So like with make files, you have a just file. The just file has a nice syntax, which is already a big advantage compared to make files. And you can store frequent used commands in a just file, which is incredible. It's great. Some things you could have in a just file, any kind of script. But typically what I do have is set up scripts, local servers, dependency installation. So for example, for our virtual labs, I can just say just start a server or just create a number of servers and so on. And all this just works because of the targets that I set in the just file. You could have CI/CD pipelines. And by the way, continuous integration doesn't necessarily require a server. You just require the habit of continuously integrating changes from other people into your code. So if your project is small, if your build is fast, you can do continuous integration without a server just by having this kind of tools. Another nice thing which I haven't tested yet, but it says that it works on Linux, macOS, Windows, BSDs with no additional dependencies beyond the shell. Amazing. So it's really cross-site, cross-platform. It allows you to write recipes in Python, Node.js, shell scripts using shebangs. Until now, I've only used shell commands, but you can include code. And it's really a very simple syntax. It has built-in listing, so you can run just -- list, and it shows all the commands that are available. Another really nice thing, can be invoked from any subdirectory and searches upward for the just file. Unlike make files, unlike anything really. There's no configuration required. It's really an amazing tool for what it does. For what it does, it really does it well. But I have to stress, this is not a build tool. It doesn't manage dependencies. It doesn't manage, pulling the necessary files. But I've used it, for example, in conjunction with ppenv, which is one of the Python dependency management tools and virtual environment tools, in order to simplify certain tasks, running tests, deployment, building dev packages, building Docker containers, you name it. It can just help you write these things, automate them, store them in a file in a nice syntax and then you call just do what I need. I also like the name, really. It's a cool name. Just do what I need. So If you want simple readable task execution, if you don't need incremental builds, because it doesn't know dependencies, it doesn't know changes in files, just is an amazing tool. Now, if you need something else, look for a better tool or a best fit tool. But this is really one of the best tools that I've seen. I love these tools that are stable, that are doing one thing really well, and that are very clear on their limitations. And I think all of these from today kind of fit this bill. All right, so what do you think about these tools? Have you used any of those? Have you seen those? What tools have you used in 2025 that you'd like to share with us? Let us know in the comments. I hope you find this useful. Thank you kindly for the view, and until next time, remember to think, design, and work smart. See you next Saturday.